Hello everybody, this is going to be the briefing on the February 21st through 23rd and what looks like it may end up being a historical snowstorm for the Twin Cities and much of the Minnesota area. So right now I'm just going to start off going over basics, which are just local amounts for what the NWS is saying right now. So we'll just go over that first. So right now, the National Weather Service, as you can see, is forecasting some very high amounts over the Twin Cities. 19 to 25 inches of snow up in the city area. And this is going to be starting Tuesday at around noon for western Minnesota and about 3 p.m. for the metro area. So now, here are a few models and what they're saying right now. So this can be the GFS model. It's going to show that snow starting at around 3 p.m. here. This is that first initial band tomorrow. And now this band is going to be, what brings the heavy snow during this band is going to be what we call frontogenesis. And that will bring very localized heavy amounts. So essentially wherever gets the heaviest amount here in this swath within this area, they're going to end up getting the highest totals. So if you take a quick look here, the mid layers, what you want to see for heavy snowfall is you want to see this is saturated through the whole thing, and you want the line to be below 0 degrees Celsius, because that's going to be our freezing temperature, and that'll create a bigger dendrite layer, which is the best kind of snow crystals to form, which will create super heavy snow mounds. So that first band comes through, and then this is where that lull kind of happens overnight into Wednesday morning. The snow won't necessarily stop, but it'll just be flakes. So like maybe an inch of snow over the course of 6 hours after that ends. And this first band will drop probably about anywhere from 6 to 10 inches in the heaviest spots. And then the second band comes back up around 3 p.m. on Wednesday. And that's when we start to get the heavy snowfall rates. Like if we look at sounding, it's here real quick. It's very saturated all the way up through 300 millibars. We still quite don't have that nose, but lower than the 0 degrees Celsius mark. If we can get just a few degrees colder up in this 700 to 500 millibar area, then we should be able to get a very thick dendrite layer, which would support snow rates of up to 3 inches an hour. And those constant snow rates is what we're looking for. So then snow bands continue overnight. Then we kind of get this secondary wave before it ends. So it's going to be 2 different waves as it starts and ends with the heaviest snowfall rates. So this is going to be during the middle of the night at 3 a.m. Got barely enough of that nose past the 0 Celsius layer. Hopefully that can move back into those colder ranges so we can get that heavier snowfall. But so essentially after the second round comes from southwest to northeast, wherever these two swaths align is where the heaviest snow is going to be. So just looking at the GFS right now, it's showing some pretty crazy amounts, which I'm gonna say are a bit high. So this is kind of your high-end snowfall totals, just according to the GFS. Realistically, I would put these totals where the heaviest spots are, as you can see where those two bands overlap. I would say realistically that's probably the heaviest you're going to see is 30 inches. But widespread, you could see around 24 inches, maybe some spots up to 28 inches. But there will be maybe a 30-inch mark somewhere. No guarantees. Then if we go over to the Euro model, it's shown a little bit of a different situation. So all these models have been very consistent the past about week and a half here. And now, of course, today they have started shifting a little bit. So the Euro has your initial band, which is showing it a little more north. And it's Euro does have it colder, which is going to be good for snowfall rates. Has that initial band. We'll just quickly look at snowfall totals for the initial band from the Euro. Yeah, that initial band, they're showing about a swath of 7-8 inches here. Maybe get a 9-inch mark in there somewhere. And locally, you could get up to 10 inches where that frontogenesis occurs. There's a lot of moisture in this system available. So then this is where, so that first band kind of the same as the last one. So this is where things get a little bit tricky with what the models are doing just today. They're showing it a little more southeast. But I kind of do not support that scenario right now because of the short range models. So right now the Euro has the first primary wave Wednesday afternoon just being just south, kind of by Rochester, in between Rochester and Mankato, and then you see it lifts north, dies out, and then that second band comes at 6 a.m. on Thursday for the morning commute if people that have to be at work. And that's when you're going to get the heaviest snow, because that's when everything's going to be cooled down. That's going to be those high 3-inch-an-hour rates. So now you'll see what the snowfall totals with the Euro, they're a bit different because it has the first wave in the same spot here, and then the second wave goes south of Rochester. Then the final oomph of the second wave is up here, so it kind of creates this lull in the Mankato area and southeast towards Worthington, or southwest towards Worthington. But it's kind of hard to see that scenario playing out just because no other model has that band being south. When we look at the short-term models here, it's a whole nother thing also. So that's this last second indecisiveness with the models and changing we're seeing. So NAM has that first wave, same area. Then that has the entire storm, the heaviest bands being a little bit north of what everyone else was saying, or every other wave was saying. And the more north, but these aren't as saturated, as you can see. You'll see that saturation when the dew points and temperatures are overlapping each other, but there's still that warm nose. So when it comes to snowfall, according to the NAM model, it's a whole nother scenario also. So we have that first wave dropping up to a foot, according to the NAM, and then the second wave. So as where the Euro had the heaviest bands in Rochester, the NAM now only has Rochester gain 6.7 inches and Mankato barely touching a foot. Then just west of the city is hitting 34 inches. And that's with a northern option. So we're going to get that main band, it looks like. This whole thing could either set up north or south at this point. Then the HRRR should be starting to come into range here soon. But if you look at the NAM 3 kilometer, which when you get this, 1 kilometer, once you get this close, they really can't interpret those bands. So we'll see those bands come in. So now when it comes to snowfall through 6 a.m. according to this band, it's not really looking as high totals, but I think that's just because this is a more mesoscale model and it's kind of going to be harder to see those finite details when it comes to frontogenesis and all that. And if we go to the winter prediction website, we can look at our probabilities here. So we'll just do it over a 72-hour period. If you click on 8 inches, as you can see, there's almost 100% certainty over a large area. We'll at least get 8 inches. Move up to 12 inches. It's almost certain for the Twin Cities, which it appears the National Weather Service does like that NAM model northern mode. And the GFS has that more southern mode right here. Then the Euro has that extremely southern split option. We can actually go and look out onto the bigger scale of things and look at how these lows progress on each model. It can kind of tell you which one looks more realistic, which one doesn't. Because these models, they tend to like to go through a quick change before actually doing some, or before their final track. Usually they wobble quite a bit just a few days before. Then they go back in line. We've seen that a lot with many storms this season. So I'm thinking that the Euro could go back in line. Maybe it doesn't. It's just a waiting game at this point. So you can see Tuesday comes, and all the disagreement appears to be on that secondary wave. See how tilted it is versus the GFS versus. Yeah, so the GFS brings just a little bit more north, it looks like. Actually, maybe. Trying to get the right freeze frame here. So is this the same time? Thursday at 12Z, Thursday at 9Z? So, I don't like that this keeps moving. So the Euro has that low hitting about the Iowa-Minnesota border. Then you have the GFS, which is actually has the low placed more south, but the snow band's more north. It's very interesting when you look at it, if we see how it's going to ride off top of this. Oh, just accidentally exited out of that. Yeah, so essentially, the Euro needs little things to tweak out. Maybe the GFS is sticking strong with its original track, though. The GFS has not budged over the last 10 days whatsoever. Like if you just look at this right here. If you look at the GFS snow total amounts. Okay, so this is going to be Friday 12th. So then we go to the model trend here. Look at the GFS's consistency over the last. This is how many days ever since Friday night. It's have very high consistency. Then it does have this northern track for one single day. But the rest of the days it does have that very high consistency. We see that kind of curve and that bend. Kind of the Nike logo, if you think about it. Just in the same spot almost. And if we'll look at the Euro's consistency, we'll see how that shows up. Might have to go to the low res Euro. Okay, I don't think that's possible. Seems like we'll do it by hand here. Oh, there we go. We could do 12 and 0Z. So the Euro had that consistent track until recent. The last two runs, it seems, moved that heavier band south here. And we could see what the... It's only about 14 hours out. Now, I know someone was mentioning the wrap. And they're saying the wrap was looking crazy. Wasn't doing normal things. So we can check that out real quick. Wrap has the initial system kind of north. And it looks like it heavily delays that snowband, which is very odd. All these Other models have this whole snow band filled in by 18Z, and this starts filling around 21Z. Then has that break. We'll see how much it's saying for the first initial wave. Yeah, so it keeps that north. Yeah, so the wrap has a north favor. We'll see what the last her has, because the her is also showing that north option with the band. Way more north than any other model. Let's see what this is looking at compared to real-time settings. So right now it is 01Z, and it has that wave right here, Montana. The satellite should help us see real time where it's at. See this jet stream starting to build right here? That's what's going to eventually build north over the next few days. If we let this whole thing load real quick. There we go. So we have that first wave here. There we go. Okay, this is I think this is broken. I'm gonna be honest here. I'll just keep it at that. There we go. See all of it reorganizing after it's getting starved in the mountains. It's got that main band up there. Mentioning that that 18Z did come a little more north. Just checked it out right now. Lacrosse 18.6. Cutoffs at Lacrosse. Northern French of 12 feet is from Duluth to just south of Fargo. Oh, 18Z looks pretty similar. Just they both have those two bands that go up here. Now if we go to the, we can actually still see what their tracks are. It has the low more in northern Iowa towards the GFS. If you do look at their little graphs they have here. Whole western country. Seems like what National Weather Service is favoring that north option. The new W severe weather outlook. Let's see what it looks like. It should be posted here. also, this is our high range. Based off current models, I'd say this is a good high range forecast. But I do think the potential for higher totals would be more spread west, especially with that overlap zone captured by Marshall, and south in case of that south option. Then again, that is a more public domain and they're more afraid to put out forecasts. Okay. Jaws formed by Zach. As you can see, extreme impacts used to just be right here over the cities, and that little dot over Mankato has now expanded west by a lot. I'm going to assume that is probably mostly for the blowing snow factor, which is maybe why it came later, or maybe they're changing their thoughts about this storm. We can see that it is for day 3, which is going to be Wednesday night to Thursday. Also in Rochester. Seems like they have it over the metropolitan areas, the dense zones, and then that's going to be that blowing snow area. Let's see if our latest HER update is in range yet. Not even close. Well, this is the 12Z. I was like, why is it so much further than it should be? Okay, let's see. 12 p.m. has it right there. Put it on a single image. Let's see what it looks like in the last ones. So is having a more southern based off the current model so far. A little bit more southern. Let's see what the overall low is looking like. Same general area, but just the low itself is a little bit more north. Ever so slightly, like 2 degrees more southern winds in the upper atmosphere. Has it tightened up a little bit more. Right now it's just a waiting game. Check out the RDPS, because why not? So this shows, even with the systems, like this system we'd seen the most, I would say most confident forecast we've probably ever seen for a snowstorm, and it happens to be like a major snowstorm, which is the crazy thing about it. So RDPS has it on the south side and has that big swath. So lots of models are looking like this first wave is going to be heavier, I believe. We'll check. Got that warm nose. This is more towards the rain mix line, but as you can see, it's mostly kind of saturated. Small layer here. Got that warm nose, which really does mess up snowfall totals a lot. But then as you get more north, it kind of stops right before it hits 0 degrees Celsius. And what makes, even though the moisture content will be less in the second band, the reason why it will possibly have heavier snow is because it's colder in the atmosphere. And it doesn't have as much of a warm nose as the first wave, which creates more snow rates due to dendrite formation in the atmosphere. RDPS is sticking with the usual solution that we've been seeing, which is this big swath. Which I would not be surprised if the other models did correct to the original solution, because that's what they like to do. They always go back, it seems. And this is total snowfall, and I am pretty sure this is... I don't know if this is Kuchera or normal snow ratio. Someone mentioning her tends to have that northern bias, which that is true. I have noticed that. Let's check see what the ensembles are saying. See if they have any different modes. Regardless of where the storm ends up being, if you're anywhere, I'd say anywhere within this red area, you should be taking it seriously. If you're on the southern side here, you're worried more about ice. If you're on the northern side here, you're worried just in case it makes that northern track. But be prepared, because it's going to be a big one. Power might go out. Depends how good your infrastructure is. Like where I live, infrastructure is crap, so I wouldn't be surprised if power went out. Let's see. Ensembles. Let's look at the mean snow accumulation here. Seems like the GFS has a mean snow accumulation of 14 to 15 inches. And it does favor the southern mode, like the Euro. Now we can also look at what they're all saying all together. Seems like most of them choose the southern scenario other than the north. I honestly am not seeing any northern scenarios with any of the GFS. Seems like the most northern scenario is just south of the National Weather Service's suggestions. If we look at the winter storm outlook, obviously we're going to be in the winter storm criteria. It's just crazy to see a storm this big. I normally don't do these forecasts or anything like this anymore, but the storm's so big I kind of had to. So this last, when was this last updated? I believe, yep, 3:19 Central Standard Time, and that I believe will get updated. Probably they either do it late tonight or overnight. Let's see what the National Weather Service Twin Cities forecast discussion looks like. See if they change the wording at all. So their 5 p.m. update. Significant storm. Important change. Upgrade to winter storm warning, which we knew. Begins 12 p.m. Tuesday. A winter storm watch remains in effect for those that will most likely get upgraded in most areas. If we look back at the graph here, I'd say we probably see the entire watch area getting upgraded to a warning. In this area with advisories, I would not be surprised to see it get upgraded to a blizzard right here. But we shall see. So, Cream's gray band of heavy snow. Tuesday through Thursday overall. Change the forecast of minor. Tightening the initial snow gradient. Tuesday night and a slight shift in high snow ice totals. Guidance generally is good agreement. Confidence remained high in the overall scenario. Finer mesoscale details, which is going to be that more so frontogenesis band, wherever that sets up. Let's just hope people don't think that that's the entire storm and they read how it's going to be 2 rounds, because they're making this very clear. There's a lot of people out there that even this morning for that dusting of snow, we're just like, what? I thought we were supposed to get 2 feet. When clearly this wasn't the main band. Redwood Falls, Twin Cities, Eau Claire, so they're saying 4 to 6 inches in this initial band. So they have QPF from 4 inches. So they're using a 1 to 10 ratio in their outlook, which doesn't make sense because when this hits, I think the temperatures are supposed to be way lower than a 1 to 10 ratio. Just do the center of it when it hits. Yeah, I would consider that less than 1 to 10 ratio. 1 to 10 ratio, you kind of see it start right here and be more up here. And then, oh, well, maybe that warm nose does end up being colder. Maybe not. So the lull will arrive 6 to 8 hours. Lull, not a break. Light snow continues. Wednesday afternoon, south take over, heavy snow. Jet. Yep, so they're saying here ratio 15 to 1 and 18 to 1. So possibly some spots they're saying could get 1.6 inches of QPF total, quantitative precipitative forecast. I'll just call it QP in their discussions. But they're saying higher amounts of 20 to 24 inches with general 12 to 18. Winds slowly decrease in temperatures into the -5 and 15 degree range. Yeah, so let's look at conditions after this storm. We'll just use the GFS for temperatures after this. So Thursday as it wraps up, you see this plume of cold air coming down. It's about 16 degrees. And it seems like our high temperature is going to be at midnight that morning. So next day, Friday. Wow. Yeah, this has been overlooked. So you got the snow, it just drops. So this is midnight Thursday night into Friday morning. And then Friday at 6 a.m., negative 19 in the cities, negative 20s southern Minnesota, negative 20s in western. Then it does surprisingly warm up a bit to around 9 degrees. Now, winds for the storm are going to be very important because when you're getting this amount of snow, it's going to be detrimental to travel and visibility. Get our consistent winds. Consistent winds for the first band seems like to be little to none. But then as that second wave comes up, as that starts, seems like we're getting 21 knot, which that's about 25, 24 mile per hour consistent winds. And as it tapers off, seems like it does get quiet the back end. Now if we look at our highest gusts here, and this is in mile per hour, so it's not going to be knots. So it gets windy tonight, which we've started to notice that now outside. Then during that main storm, it seems like it's almost super, super calm overnight. And then it really picks up here. South Dakota, 45 mile per hour gusts. Could see a 50 in there maybe. And that's during the snow too. Yeah, so this is Wednesday night during the bulk of the snow. Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. So it seems like during the storm is going to be when it's the worst. But by the time you're done with Thursday, Friday rolls along, you shouldn't be dealing with that blowing snow. Then we have more winds on starting Friday night. That might cause a problem. Depends how the snow settles. Once again, probability charts. 70 to 80% chance that the city see greater than 18 inches of snow. And 50 to 60%. And to see greater than 20%, 24 inches, 20 to 30% And they base their forecast off the 50% mark. So if we look right here, accumulation by percentile, 50%. They have that area of 21 to 24 inches up in Minneapolis. Then this big swath of 18 to 21 inches. You got the outer swath of 15 to 18. It's just crazy seeing this on this model. In the 90th percentile, that's kind of like that's the worst case scenario. Well, 95th technically would be worst case scenario. Wow. So this is a 5% chance of happening, which is this massive area of 24 to 27 inches, 27 inches, 30 up here. Got this pink area, 18, 21, 21, 24. Then the lowest amount of snow they think we're going to get. The very lowest. So there's a 95% chance or higher you're going to get this amount of snow. At least this much. 12 to 15 inches. The metro. And that's saying something. I've never seen a 95 percentile gone above 6 inches in the last, I think, ever. So this is a very realistic right here. This 75th percentile. This is a very realistic flip a coin and this could happen, I believe, with your amounts. 75 percentile. Large area of 21 to 24 inches. I think we will see multiple locations get 2 feet of snow in the metro, wherever this band sets up. Let's see what our herd's doing. Okay, we're just going to look at the first band on this. Is what we've been waiting for. See where this first one sets up. It's kind of crazy that this is a 2-part system because you can't see the entire thing at once. So like normally you'd be able to see the whole storm with the herd, but not this time. So it seems like it's going to keep it north, I believe. Probably show that once we look at the weather models or snow totals. Yeah, so it keeps that way north. So essentially what we've learned is the Euro is way south with those initial bands, and then that split has the first band being normal, then the second band being south. Then the NAM has that first band being normal, second band normal. And the GFS has it more south. So it's kind of 2 scenarios here. Either it stays south or it goes north. Essentially, this just basically told us there is no such thing as certainty. No matter how close or how solid the forecast has been. So right now it's showing possibilities for St. Cloud to get 24 inches, possibility for Rochester to get 24 inches, and it's up and down the board here. So essentially you have to wait until this area right here. It could be the main band, could be in the corner of this top box or the bottom corner. I'll continue to post updates on Twitter, but I just wanted to do the explaining of this system, which was more in the beginning with the frontogenesis and how things would overlap. So hopefully you guys can keep along with my Twitter updates. Try to do as best I can. Probably will do one more update tonight once all 0Z models are out. Then my next update probably will be tomorrow at noon, just like today. And I'll make it more descriptive.